Why math is confusing? Here's an instance why. 10 to the 0 power is 1, but 4 to the 0 power is also 1. 3 to the 0 power is 1, but 0 to the 0 is undefined. Alright, that's really confusing. I don't understand why you can get 3 different numbers and all have them equal 1, and 0 equals 0 equals 1. It's 0 raised to the 0 power, it has nothing. Well, let's go back and look at this. What is that actually asking you to do? Let's look at this one. We have 10 squared is 100, 4 squared is 16, and 3 squared is 9. Well, that's telling you that you multiply the base this many times. 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, but why is it 1? Why is something raised to the 0 power 1? Here we go. If you look on the left-hand side over here, they're going to be reducing by a power of 1 every time. Now, when you're dealing with base 10, the 1 over here tells you that that's where we're going to start at, and then the 3, or the 2, or the 1 tells you how many zeros have to follow the 1. So here we go. 10 cubed is 10 times 10 times 10, which is 1,000, 1 with 3 zeros. 10 squared is 10 times 10, which is also 1 with 2 zeros. 10 to the first is 1 with 1 zero, and therefore 10 to the 0 has to be 1 with no zeros. Now what's going on here is that every time you're dividing by 10, you're dividing by the base, because 1,000 divided by 10 is 100, and 100 divided by 10 is 10, and 10 divided by 10 is 1. Okay, that works for any base. For instance, 4 cubed, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. You divide by 4, you get 4 squared, which is 16. Divide by 4 again, you get 4 to the first power, which is 4. Divide 4 by 4, what's the answer? It's 1 again. Okay? Now, why is 0 raised to the 0 power undefined? Well, it's because of the zero property rule of multiplication, that anything times 0 is 0. So, with the order of operations where exponents takes precedence over multiplication and division, which one would take precedence? The rule that is already established for multiplication, or the rule that's established for the powers? Should it be a 0 or should it be a 1? And since there's a confusion there, it's undefined because there's not a hard and fast rule that can be created for that. So, this also brings up another part of exponents. You notice that every time we go down, we reduce by 1. Well, how did I get from 3 to 2? If I divide it by 1, 10 to the first, I'm subtracting 1. 3 minus 1 gives me 2. So if I had 10 to the third power and I divided out 100, that would leave me with 10. I had 3, subtracted 2, left me with 1. Now there's also negative exponents. Again, if we use this as a number line, 3, 2, 1, 0, our number line does not end at 0. It starts at negative 1. Well, again, this is just dividing the previous base, our previous answer, by the base, 10. 1 divided by 10 is 1/10, which is written in decimal form. Decimal form is 0.1. The 0 is just a leading holder place. Now, if you'll notice, we have a 1 here, but it's going in the opposite direction as it was up here. Up here, the 0 had to follow or go on the positive side of the 1, where in this case, when it becomes negative, it precedes it. See that little 0 right there? Now it starts reading it backwards. 1 with 1 0 is 1/10. That's also 10%. 10 to the negative 2 is the same thing as 1/10 divided by 10, or 1 divided by 100. And look, we have 2 over here going to the left, because remember, on our number line, positive runs to the left, positive runs to the right, and negative runs to the left. Well, here's my 1. Oops. Here's my 1 way over here with 2 zeros. Okay. Now, why am I interested in telling you this? Because I'm a tutor. I've been a tutor for the last 3 years. I've studied to be a mathematician with the intention of going into the schools and teaching secondary mathematics, especially algebra, some geometry, but I really love algebra. I've changed my mind on that basically because of discipline problems in the schools. So, I still want to teach, I still want people to understand math, and I want to reach the largest population as possible. So, if you want to tune in for some of these lectures on brief things on mathematics, I will be posting these periodically. I do apologize for the low-tech way that I have to go right now because for the last 4 years I've been in college. So, you know, if you're in college, you know what it's like. You're broke nearly half the time, and you know, not a whole lot of money to spend on extra stuff. So, but one other thing to tell you, that the reason math sometimes is so very confusing is that mathematicians are lazy. Well, maybe not they're so lazy, but they think that you should understand things or already know things. And they don't write everything out like, this is blah, blah, blah. What they do is that they leave things off that are already understood. And then when they start bringing it back in, thinking that you should know that this exists, then you tend to get lost. So here's one thing. This is the number 8. It's a sign. Every number has a sign. 8, it's raised to the first power, divided by, because I can turn most things into a fraction, by putting it over the identity number, which is positive 1 for multiplication, division, and the exponents, which is powers and radicals. And we also have to, unless we're dealing in base 10, have to list what base we're in, base 10. Now it's much easier for us to write 8. But sometimes we might have to convert it back to a power, back to our sign, or back to an exponent or a fraction to be able to combine it with other things. If you are interested in anything else that I have created, there is something that's created for the Victoria website under www.victoriacollege.edu. I wrote a handout that they've published on how to write a research paper. Anything else that you may be interested in, you may go to my website. I have some blogs out there and other information about materials you can get from me. You can get by going to www.myspace.com/a_tutor. Hoping to make math fun. Hoping that people will be able to go, oh, that makes sense now. Or why did they ever tell me that? Okay, I'll just tell you that when mathematicians write things, they write it in the general. And when they write things in the general, they write it with letters. For instance, back to the exponent part. I'll give you an explanation like this. For any number b raised to the n, where b times b times b times b n times is how you do a power. Well, that is very confusing. Why don't they just say for any number b raised to the n power, where it's not n and b cannot be 0 or 1. I want to say b is 4 and n is 2. All that's saying is that b to the n is the same thing as 4 squared or 4 times 4. b is not 1, n is not 1, because 4 is not 1, and 2 is not 1, and neither one of those is 0. Where b is the base, we have base 4, and we square it. That tells me how many times I'm recording it, multiplying it. Well, 4 times 4 is 16. I'm also writing a book. It's called The Mathemagician, and it's due to be set on the website, or a link to it will be set on the website shortly. And any feedback or comments, please let me know. Thank you.